Hello and welcome back to Techiechap. In today's episode I am taking a look at an Arch-based distribution called EndeavourOS. Now I've been wanting to try out this system for some time, but somehow have never managed to get around to it. Well, here we are, I've got round to it and I've installed it on my ThinkPad X1 Carbon here. So why did I want to try EndeavourOS? Well, the reason is there's a little bit of history. I used to use as my main system back in the day around 2014 maybe to around 2018 I would say. It was my main system and it was a system called EndeavourOS. I had it installed at work and I had it installed at home, and this Arch-based distribution was 100% stable, work and home. I loved it. It gave me access to the latest applications, thanks to the Arch user repository, the AUR, and it was just a fantastic release. But by the end of 2018, the security updates and the updates on the system itself were certainly starting to become pretty sparse, and by May 2019 this particular release, EndeavourOS, it unfortunately ceased working. And when a Linux distribution stops or decides to close down, it's always the community that are left behind. Well, in this case, the EndeavourOS community decided, well, they weren't simply going to disappear, they weren't going to go off into the shadows, but actually they were going to do something about it. And so they decided to get together and build a new Arch-based distribution that kind of had the flavour of EndeavourOS, but was really moving the project forward. And this is where we are at today, EndeavourOS. This system actually has been out for quite some time. However, this is the very, very latest release of it, which is called Galileo. And we're just going to take a look at it here. And I guess I need to not get too nostalgic because, yeah, I really have fond memories of EndeavourOS and using that system. So this is the screen that greets you having got through the installation of EndeavourOS. I should say I did have a bit of an issue with the installation. Essentially it wouldn't create or delete the old partition that used to be on my old machine here, and I actually had to run fdisk to remove the old partition, and once I'd removed the old partition, then the installer essentially worked correctly. So just be aware of that. If you do try this yourself and you're having the same problem, then you may need to run fdisk and remove the old partition if you have one on your system. And there's lots of information online about that if you need it. It does seem to be a little bit of an issue that does pop up, and indeed it is on the EndeavourOS forum as well. But fdisk really sorted my issue out for me there. So once I'd gone through the installation, it did take some time. I was using the online installation, and the benefit of the online installation is that you get to choose the desktop environment that you're going to be working with. So for example, you could choose XFCE, GNOME, Mate, Cinnamon, Budgie, LXQT, LXDE or i3 Window Manager. And all of these desktop experiences have their pluses and minuses, but I decided to stick with just KDE, given that the EndeavourOS installer itself was based on KDE, and KDE was top of the list, so it seemed to be subtly suggesting to me to use KDE as the main system, which I did. Anyway, so here we are. This is what greets you, and you get this nice little welcome application. And it's actually pretty good. So what it does is it guides you through the things you should do having installed your Arch based distribution. So you have to update the mirrors. Updating the mirrors is a really good thing to do because essentially you get to choose the repository mirrors location. That means now that I've been able to install a United Kingdom repository mirror, all my applications, updates, they all are super fast because it's only a local download as opposed to being something based elsewhere. So the fact that you can do this right from the off is a pretty good thing. Then you can actually update the system mirrors or the EndeavourOS mirrors. It will go off and it will find the closest mirror for you. And this is essentially the closest place to download the EndeavourOS system updates. Then you update the system using the Arch app Yay. And then you update the system using the EndeavourOS update. Then there's a little package cleanup. And then you can configure the Endeavour operating system update notifier. So it will update you when there is an update ready for you. All good stuff. And definitely all good stuff that you should do after you've installed a distribution. I like that that is all there for you. And if you miss it, you can always go back and launch this welcome application again and run these things. Then you get to choose your display manager. Because it's KDE, I am using the standard SDDM display manager. EndeavourOS default wallpaper literally puts this default wallpaper in place for you. And then or you can choose one of the other EndeavourOS wallpaper. They've got quite a lot of them, so if you do click on download more EndeavourOS wallpapers, I think you'll get a good few hundred different types of wallpapers. So this is wallpapers is hardly the most important thing here, but it's nice it's there anyway. And we will be changing this wallpaper simply because I find it a little bit too busy for my eyes. Okay, so then you have the assistant, and the assistant contains tools for useful and or daily tasks. And if there is no internet available, then some of these things wouldn't work, but it's pretty much the same thing here. So it update the mirrors, update the system, etc. Then it's got some tips, and these are pretty good actually. So if you are new to Arch and you want to know where to start, I would suggest clicking on these, and it's got some pretty decent tutorials available on here. So you can basically work out some PacMan basic commands. We might get into that a little bit later in this video. But the information is there on the EndeavourOS.com website, and I think it's really nice and helpful that all this is there. There's also some firewall information as well. I should say that the firewall is enabled by default in EndeavourOS. Another really good thing, really good practice. I'm glad to see that is there. And you can change that by right clicking, and you can edit firewall settings here, and it will launch Firewall D, which is the firewall application, and then you can change settings there if you so need to. Otherwise the defaults should more or less suffice for most desktop users, but nice to see that is enabled by default. And then it's got some information on hardware and network. So it really just goes through beginner's guides to stuff like XFCE. If you've gone with the XFCE desktop environment, it's got some tips on how to get high DPI working. NVIDIA intro, if you've got an NVIDIA card. If you've got an old NVIDIA Optimus, as actually I have on my W520, the other laptop that I'm running FreeBSD on, Optimus notebooks, etc. So yeah, there's some really useful documentation here on the EndeavourOS site. So if you've used a KDE system before, then you'll pretty much know what to expect. If we launch system settings, let's just go up here. What I'm going to do actually is just change this desktop actually, because it's as I say, a little bit too busy for me at the moment. So I'm just going to change the wallpaper, nothing too hectic. I've already downloaded this one. Apply that. There we go. So that's done. So it's a little bit cleaner for me and stops me getting achy eyes by looking at all the stars in that wallpaper. Right, where was I? So yes, if we go to system settings, the system settings in KDE is pretty neat. Everything that you kind of need to do within the KDE desktop environment is here. If we click on About This System, you can see I am currently running KDE Plasma 5.27.9. Kernel version is 6.6.2 Arch 1, and I'm running the graphics platform X11. You can see a little bit more detail there on my system that I'm running this on. In this case, this is the Lenovo ThinkPad X1 Carbon Generation 3, which is an i7-5600U CPU with 8 GB of RAM. Great, so that is that. What I should say as well is let's just go to the console, and if I just zoom in a bit, we'll just talk a little bit about PacMan. Now, PacMan, actually I really enjoy using PacMan, and you'll find with EndeavourOS that you don't get the KDE Discover application, so you don't get a kind of GUI that you can go off and look for applications using the GUI. There are GUI application managers available, so you can go off and install those, but first you have to get to grips with PacMan. So PacMan, and I'm not talking about the 80s arcade game, is a package manager. So let's just take a look at PacMan. So first, actually, let me sudo PacMan. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to update the system, and the way that we do that is type -s, then lowercase y. So capital S means to synchronize to the central repository, and the lowercase y means to refresh the local cache, and then lowercase u means to update. So let's just type that. Alright, there's a few packages to update, and remember these are all from the official repositories, so we're going to say yes to that. I should say that when the yes/no prompt is highlighted like this with the yes in uppercase, that means it is the default. Alright, so that's going to go off and update all those applications now. And this will update the system as well. So it's a really important command to remember. Great, that is done. So what we're going to do now is we're just going to try a search now. So again, we're going to synchronize, and we're going to this time use lowercase s for search, and let's just do a search for GIMP. As you can see, that's returned a lot of results there for GIMP, but essentially, as you can see at the top there, you have the image manipulation program there. So if you are looking for an application, then you would use the lowercase s prefix to find that application. And it also tells you when an application has been installed, which is rather helpful as well. So if we were going to look for an application that isn't available in the official repositories, let's say for example you needed some functionality of an application, some new functionality in an application that's only just been updated or released, then we can search the Arch user repository. And we can do that using the Yay tool within EndeavourOS. So if we type Yay, and let's say for example we'll search for the same application, which is the graphic image manipulation program. Let's type that. Now Yay is interesting because it will search not only the official repository but also the AUR. So if we just scroll up, you can see highlighted here in the blue AUR the graphic image manipulation program, all the extra plugins and so on for that program, as well as the very latest versions of the GIMP program. Scrolling down to the bottom again, if we look here, you can see it's asking what package to install. Now you can actually, using the Yay package tool, install a whole bunch of packages, which is pretty neat. So say for example you needed the GIMP program, the graphic image manipulation program, and you needed a lot of textures and extra plugins to be coupled with it, then you could type, say for example 1 to 33 or something like that. You can actually, just by using the range, you can type a range, and then using these pink numbers here you can actually install a range of applications from using the Yay tool. So it really is quite a powerful tool. So that's PacMan and Yay. So hopefully that gives you a brief starter for 10 with those two tools for package management. That's not everything by any means, but it will at least get you started. So what do I think of EndeavourOS? And in particular this release of EndeavourOS. Now as I've said before, I wanted to try EndeavourOS for quite some time, and indeed I did try to install EndeavourOS on another laptop and it didn't go so well for me, and I wasn't able to actually release that review. However, with this release of EndeavourOS, the Galileo edition, I was able to install it, having got over the initial hard drive F-disk issue. I was able to install it, and everything since then has run really smoothly. I'm impressed actually by the number of applications that are running here, in the sense that there really aren't that many applications running in the background, just the few like KDE Connect that you might expect to be running because it is KDE. And I'm sure if you wanted an even lighter experience, you could choose another desktop environment if you wanted. So does this give me the same warm fuzzy feeling that I used to get with Antigos? Yes, it does. It is a fantastic system, particularly if you want to get into the world of Arch and you want access to that AUR. So would I recommend it? Yes, I would. It really is a decent system. I've got to keep running this and see how I get on, but I'm hopeful for EndeavourOS and how well it runs, and I'll see how well it continues to run in the future. We'll keep you updated. Anyway, thank you for watching this video. If you have enjoyed watching this video, please click on like and subscribe, and I look forward to seeing you next time. Thanks for watching Techiechap.